Coming up on this week's episode of Standing While Black.
I want to be cliche saying never give up. But I would say always remain a student of your profession. Because if you love it, you're going to most likely do it forever.
This is Standing While Black, a weekly podcast discussing Black experiences in fandom. I'm your host, Ashley Briggs, and thank you for checking out the show. Photographer Gordon Parks once said, quote, "A guy who takes a chance, who walks the line between the known and unknown, who is unafraid of failure, will succeed," end quote. Being a stan is all about following your passion, whatever that passion might be, and sharing that love with the world. This week, I spoke with Julian Leggett, a rising star in the world of visual arts, who is chasing his dreams one shot at a time. I hope you enjoy our discussion about artistry, vision, and hustle. Let's get into it. Welcome to the show, Julian. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm so happy to have you, and I'm not a photographer, but a fellow cinematographer. And
yes.
And I want to talk more about that. So I actually made your icebreaker question a little more focused on that. My question for you is, if you could do a photo shoot in any location in the world, forget about COVID, you could go anywhere in the world to shoot, where would you go?
I would say France. Ooh. Because I just love the historical architecture and the overall aesthetic of France. Well, I would say Paris. Yeah, and now we'll venture out into other cities and stuff like that. But yeah, just France, because I just love the cobblestone and like little coffee shops and stuff like that. So I think that's a good background for some great photos.
Awesome. I think I would go with like New Zealand. I really like the landscape and the look, and I can see why Lord of the Rings was filmed there. It looks like another world in some parts. Obviously it's so modern, but I like that modern mixed with old world feel. So I think I'd go with
so you're a fan of Lord of the Rings?
No, but New Zealand, yes.
Oh no. Okay.
But yeah, I can see as a location for like, choosing to shoot fantasy, I can see why they chose New Zealand, just because like the visuals there are breathtaking, and it's all just so massive, and there's so much history there. So I would love to visit and just go there, but also if I could film or just get some great shots, that'd be a great place to go. So as a photographer and a cinematographer, I want to ask you, just generally as an artist, what or who inspires your creativity?
I would say, well, back in the day, I used to be a rapper. I used to do music, and just from that and picking up a little like point and shoot camera, I would like film like artist interviews. I knew a lot of like rappers and singers, so I would interview them randomly with this point and shoot camera. And this, what was this, 2010 or 11? I just was like infatuated with just videoing people. So years later, it kind of pushed me into photos and videography when I bought a DSLR camera. My first one. This had to be like 2015, 2016. And really, I was going to school for something totally different, which was like computers, CIS or computer science. And I basically just started watching a lot of YouTubers. And one guy that really influenced me was a guy named Casey Neistat. He's a filmmaker. He was like, one of the original vloggers out there. And he used to upload a video every morning at like 8, 9 in the morning. And you kind of watch someone's life like a TV show, but you kind of forget that this is a real person and they have to stop at some point. But he really got me into pursuing this as a career, and helped me push into the passion that was right under my nose the whole time. So I switched my major into digital video production and haven't looked back since.
Awesome. That's such a great kind of start story, that inspiration from watching someone else keep
Yeah,
going and be consistent in their work and
yeah,
putting that content out there regularly, because it's so easy to get overwhelmed or distracted or lose that discipline.
yeah,
So I can
yeah.
see being inspired by that. For you
Mhm.
personally, in addition to inspiration, but that motivation piece, do you think that motivation is something that's kind of an internal resource for you, or is that something external where you get your motivation through others? Which works best for you?
I would say both because I am self-motivating, and to be an entrepreneur, you really have to be.
Hmm.
And yeah, from others, like for instance, my Instagram, I don't follow your average Instagram model or your average just someone that takes selfies all day. Like I follow people that either do what I do or have like some type of motivational type account and stuff like that. Like I follow a lot of people that have e-courses to build businesses and stuff like that. So I really root for the entrepreneur out there and the business owner and the self-starter.
Hmm.
So I do use those outward uh outward, what do you say, to just people and accounts that motivate me every day. And then I do have my own where I have to be a self-starter. I have to get up early every day and get to editing this video or putting together for this show that I'm doing. So it's like it's both ways that I really get my motivation daily, and I think about it all day, and get stuff done that way.
That's awesome, because I think it's so important, especially now with pandemic and everything.
It
We're
is.
in the digital era where it's like, okay, you start your day, you maybe have coffee, you check your social
Mhm.
media. And it's so
Yeah,
important to curate who we follow and who follows us, and kind of protect
yeah.
our social media spaces so that we keep it positive and inspiring,
Mhm.
because it's so easy to get distracted and get caught up in drama. And then it's like, why am I
Yep.
arguing with this stranger? Or,
Hmm.
so I think that's great, not just to have positivity in our real lives, but also in our social media, like you're saying, of
Oh yeah,
making sure you're following people who are going to keep you in that right mindset. That's
definitely,
great. Yeah.
definitely needed. I think it's vital to success.
Hmm. Now you have a new docu-series that you've just
Mm.
started. Could you tell me a little bit about how that came to be, where you got the idea, how you got started, just kind of the behind the scenes of it?
Oh, definitely. All right. So, like I said, I was in school. I did graduate, and I went back to school. So it's later in life. I'm 38 right now. So I would say 2016, I switched my major, and I was in a class that you have to learn filmmaking basically. And he puts you through different exercises, and you really had to make a film, like a silent film, a film with all pictures, and an actual film with audio. So when we got to our like final project, it was a documentary that you had to do, and you could not be the star. You couldn't be a Michael Moore. You had to be totally behind the scenes and let the people you're interviewing or whatever you're covering tell the story.
Hmm.
So I chose sneakers, and I chose why people fight in sneaker stores over Jordans. That was my, investigative type topic. And I, went to like popular sneaker stores in the city of Philadelphia, took a little crew with me, my classmates, and we went and got these interviews, and we got B-roll, and we got these different opinions on the topic. And I got an A, definitely. And everybody really they liked it. And I probably had the best one in the class. And I wasn't alone. I did have a crew, but I came up with the general idea, and we all executed and got it done. So that was a couple of years ago. So fast forward to 2020, the pandemic. And through that time to now, I did nothing as far as a personal passion project, I did nothing. Like, and I should have been doing it, but I was focused on getting married and paying for my wedding and just putting things together, like, you know, in other parts of my life. So 2020 came and we all had to sit down. We all had to
Mm-hmm.
just sit in the house and pass our time. So it made me realize, like, wow, I need to, you know, do something. So I guess we all know Clubhouse, when Clubhouse dropped. Around that time, they had like a videographers group. And I'm in there, I'm asking questions. I'm like, look, I'm trying to get bigger clients because I get a lot of clients as far as like people that's just starting out businesses and weddings and stuff like that. But I'm trying to get, bigger brands. So I talked in there and some guy basically said, start your passion project, start that, and you'll probably get some bigger brands or bigger clients off that. So I said, all right, I'm gonna start my passion project. Didn't know exactly, but then I did land back on sneakers because I did put the documentary that I did in school on YouTube. So I got some, nice comments and people that never knew anything about sneakers commenting like, oh, that was interesting. So I said, let me do another documentary. And then as time went on, I felt that was a bit ambitious to, try to do that. And I didn't have any crew or anything. So I said, let me break it up into episodes and let me call it a docu-series and let me focus on one sneaker enthusiast per episode so that it gave them incentive to want to be on and be interviewed and tell their story, and their family and friends could watch it, and that'll make other sneaker enthusiasts say, hey, I want to be on that show. And this is how it come to be. So far I have 5 episodes recorded, 2 uploaded, and I'm editing the 3rd one right now. So it is really by myself, but slowly but surely I have people that I did interview wanting to, give me some ideas for some side projects involving Sneakerhead Stories, and that's what it's called. And right now I'm in that process of kind of monetizing it. I do already have my website. I have I don't have the website, but I bought the domain. Want to merchandise. I've just made stickers. I'm putting them up around the city. So I just want to really like get into this and come up with t-shirts. And I got a Patreon kind of ready. And just right now I'm just in the groove with it, So yeah.
Great. I think that's such a great way you kind of fell into it, but then also a great concept, because I think there are a lot of people who just don't understand sneakerheads. So getting different stories is awesome and giving some clarity and personality to it. My very first job when I was 16 was at Foot Action, and then I went on to, I think I was at Lady Foot Locker, but like, I can remember some of my earliest work memories is, people lined up at the gate waiting for the mall to open, ready for whatever the new Air Force Ones were. And I wasn't into shoes, but I just really loved seeing that enthusiasm and that passion. And you would have different celebrities come through sometimes. I was just like, wait, really? For shoes? And like, it took, being there and working in retail and speaking and working with customers to see that passion in something that I took for granted. I was like, these are just shoes. I was like, oh wait, this is more of a culture. This has more value to it than I was seeing at first. So I'm excited to see the rest of your episodes and to hear those stories. I think it's wonderful. That's why I'm doing this show. I just love to hear about other people getting really into what they're into and being open about it and just loving what they love, because we need things to get excited about, especially in this pandemic.
Yes, ma'am. And you know what? I'm not a sneakerhead. Going back to what you asked me earlier, I'm not a sneakerhead. I always wore sneakers, but I just wasn't into them like that. So right now, I'm a complete student of what's going on in the sneaker world. I followed a lot of YouTubers, and I study this, so I do want to know what I'm talking about when I go in here. I want to know what they're talking about, when they're telling me their answers to these questions. Yeah, I'm just really, really, really learning about this. And it's just every day is because I feel like if I don't know that much about it, like how can I come up with these questions? And then how could I run this Instagram because I run the Instagram. Well, I run the Instagram now, and I ask people's opinions on certain sneakers that's coming out. So at first, I didn't know what source did you go to see what upcoming sneakers were coming out. So I had some consultants tell me what apps to download and what websites to be on, and yeah, it's just it's a lot, but
It is.
I think it's very interesting.
Yeah. And you're grinding, building that authority, researching, you're
Yeah.
behind your own business, you're doing your shoots, you're editing, you're getting your clients. That's a lot of hats, a lot of juggling. So what do you
I need
do?
help.
Yeah. You need
I
help.
need help.
Like, hit them up if you're looking to work with Julian. Now, with creativity, as creators, we always have to, we put out a lot of ourselves into our work. We put a lot of energy into it, whatever we're working on. So how do you sort of refresh your creative energy? What are some things that you like to do, or how do you keep refilling that well of creativity when you also have to run your business and continue to live your life, but you still are, like you said, going to school and learning all of these new things at once? How do you maintain that balance?
Well, I would say this. For the past few years, I would say 2016 was the start of me going to the creative everything. And I always made YouTube videos or whatever. But it's times where I do take a long break. It's times where I do take a break from it and I don't do anything, creative. And I work my job to, survive while I'm building this company. Really, I just basically take that long break. If it's a 2-month break, if it's a 6-month break, and I know that's probably not the best practice to try to fill my well of creativity up, but it's sometimes that's what's been happening for the past couple of years. So I would say now I'm all in with the creativity. So other people's projects really do, like I said, motivate me. I'll like kind of borrow like a visual effect I see and start practicing it, in my program that I edit with. And I think that's how, when I learn new things, it makes me want to create more and more and more. So that's why I follow those people on Instagram and I see what they make. And I basically look at like some motion graphics and I'll be like, oh, okay, you know what? I know how they did that. Let me try to recreate that. It's just, I just feed off of people in that way. And that really keeps my creativity up. And like I said, with sneakers, I already work with sneakers. So I said, this is like a no-brainer. I could just, lean into that and I will have something that will potentially get big, and take me to places I want to go, because I always wanted to just travel with my camera and that's it. So
hey, that's the dream. Yeah, keep working toward it. Yeah,
exactly. And I feel like this is worldwide, this subject. So yeah, like I said, just feed off people and live life. So hopefully when I don't want to run into a long hiatus in my creative space like after this either. So I'll just probably try to use other people and then surround myself with people that create also, because that was another thing. I was always a loner also. So I didn't really know too many people. I knew some people, but I didn't know the people that were like actively doing things and like, shooting movies and stuff like that. So yeah, I do use the people around me and the people online.
it's all resources. We're all
Yeah.
learning from each other. In my background, I got my bachelor's in cinema and I always did pretty well. Like, I was an A student when it came to screenwriting, but I was like a C when it came to actual production. I just really suck as a director and I could not get my lighting right. My angles were rough. And then I couldn't get into it enough. I actually do audio drama now in addition to podcasting and writing, but I just never really got behind the camera as a cinematographer because I just don't have the eye. I think some people do and some people don't, and some people can learn it. So for you, do you have any advice for anyone who's into photography or cinematography as far as what you've learned in your process and in your practice? Any skills or advice, how to work with a budget or anything like that you could give to anyone listening who wants to up their photo game?
Well, when you said what you just said, I was like, wait, so you're definitely a producer. Like, you're an organizer and like
Yep.
so you're not the organizer?
No, I am. Yeah, definitely a
Okay,
producer, and I want to be a producer. Producing is great. I
okay,
love writing and producing, but when it comes to directing, like, nope,
yeah,
that's not me. I don't have the
okay.
eye, and I don't give great directions.
Oh, okay, I feel you. Okay, yeah. Advice for somebody that wants to do it. First, you gotta love it because it's not easy. Being creative is fun, but sometimes these shoots are like 5 hours, and you're standing around a lot. Trying to make sure everything is, everybody's ready, and then you get like you said, light scenes and stuff like that, and make sure the audio is good, and make sure you got the camera angles good. So I would just say, love it first, because it might
Right.
not be for you. Love it first and learn the technical aspects of it, because before I went back to school for it, I just had my point and shoot. I didn't know anything about shutter speed, ISO, or aperture with a DSLR camera, or even anything with a cinema camera. So I had to go to school to really learn those things. That's what really kind of molded me. I did have raw talent and a natural eye for some type of visual, like using a study cam or something like this. Somebody walking down the street, like I know the right angles, and for interviews, I know the right angles and stuff like that. But that was definitely school that molded me into just a guy that can just have some lights, a camera, and a little microphone. And that's what I do with my show right now. I don't have much equipment, and I just put it together kind of fast. And I do have like a production assistant with me, and I do teach her, like, hey, this is what shutter speed is, and this is the look you get when, I don't know, you put the light this way. This is how you bounce light. Like I don't know. It's hard to answer that question, but
No, that makes sense to
yeah,
me. I wish in film school I had a little more attention of like, okay, but what am I looking for? Is this a good angle? But like, it was a really small program, and like one professor the whole time, who's been there for decades, is just like, he was very much, either you see it or you don't, like, just figure it out. And I'm like, but what am I looking for? Like, is this so I'm storyboarding, I can't draw, like, the visuals wouldn't work for me. So I definitely struggled trying to figure out, is this good light, is this too hot, is this so I think if I
yeah,
had more practice and maybe a mentor, like it sounds like your PA is getting a mentorship with you and learning these things
yeah.
in practice. And I just didn't do that and didn't go on to pursue it. So I definitely encourage anyone to go out there, take a chance, try it, learn it. If it doesn't come naturally to you, keep practicing, find someone who can show you the ropes, because
Yeah,
it's worth it.
yeah, it's definitely worth it. It's rewarding. It's it may not be fun all the time, because I would say to somebody, don't expect everything to go right doing a shoot like 100%, because it just really doesn't. Like, you'll forget something, like something very important sometimes, or something will probably break, or somebody's late. It's like, not like a shoot is never that smooth, so expect the unexpected. And
Oh
make
yeah.
sure you got everything, and make sure you hiring the right help and stuff like that, because I had nightmares with that also.
Hmm.
um you definitely need like a good solid crew, and just learn the mechanics before anything. The important things is the little things that an audience might not even see or understand. It's just like, I'm very detailed with everything on set, so we might be missing something, and they might not be able to tell. It still tells the story. You just learn it and be very
Like, just
detailed.
do it, like the shoes, right? Yeah.
It's hard to explain, because if I'm on set, I could definitely show people, and how to get certain looks and stuff like that. And yeah, it's like it's a lot.
Now, one thing that all, I guess, creators who have to do editing, one thing we all know is that it can
Mhm.
take a long time. I actually had
Oh
to
yeah.
do like editing before we could do digital work. We had to learn how to work with actual real physical film and learn how to splice it and cut it together and make black and
Wow.
white films. They wanted us to know exactly the history of film, and be able to do everything from scratch before we could even touch a digital camera. So that was another reason I was kind of behind. Like I had to do all this and I still didn't get to learn digital until senior year. So so I feel like I would need to go back to school to catch up on things. But my question is, when it comes to editing and producing your content, and this kind of ties into the motivation question a little bit, but like, what are some practical tips you have to keep people going as far as their energy, that creative energy, and keeping kind of sane in the process, because it is long hours, it is a lot of work. But is there anything that any kind of snacking or anything you like to do while you work on your work? Is there anything that keeps you going?
Well, I would say just an overall tip first, take breaks from an edit, because it's like I've had times where I'm like, okay, I'm missing this footage and I don't know what to do. or you just
like
kind
panic
of
mode.
yeah, it's crazy. Some stuff I went through, and I just walk away. Maybe I walk away for a day, especially editing like a wedding. You editing a wedding type video, sometimes you're gonna need to take a break. It's just a lot of footage. And then look at all the footage with anything too, because I heard that, well, some guy that I follow, he had a podcast. He said you're a bad editor if you don't look at all your footage, because if you just look at the first and second clip and say, oh, this is dope, and then start cutting it in and then not looking at everything you have, then that make you a bad editor, because you're not getting the best shots that you can. So definitely look at all the footage, and like you can like just do the process of elimination. Oh, I can't use that. That's fuzzy. That's not in focus. That's whatever. And take all the best clips and work with that. Second, I would say learn all the mechanics with that too, because we're editing, you cutting, you're editing audio also, as far as like taking hisses out of the back end of audio, and you got sound effects, and you got visual effects, and you got text on screen. You want to make sure you don't have to be adept, but just know basics of those things to help propel your story. And then color correction also. It's like you really have to, man, like somebody that's colorblind, they might see like a red as a yellow, like some people have a little trouble. But if you don't have that problem, just know the difference between hot and cold. Basically, because you don't want a super warm footage. Like some people can tell. Some people that never was behind the camera or never edited, they probably can't tell. But if you were to show them like, hey, well, if I cool it down a little bit, this looks a little better, right? They'll be like, oh yeah, it does. So they won't even see it. But just make sure you got your color correction down pat, make it visually pleasing.
So in your journey thus far as a creator, I know there's still more to do, more to achieve, more mountains to climb, but so far, what life lessons have you learned up to now that you can carry with you as you move forward in your career?
Whew, all right. Life lessons, because I had a lot going in the last 7 years. It's been crazy. I would say, I want to be cliche saying never give up. But I would say always remain a student of your profession. Because if you love it, you're going to most likely do it forever. And if you move on, it's just going to be an evolution into something like that's a pivot. But always remain a student, because you will not know it all in everything, like in any industry you're doing. And especially this, because like technology is always changing, and they say you have rules in film, but if you know them good enough, you'll be able to break them. You really have to be a student and never stop learning. I've been editing video for about 10 years. At the beginning, I wasn't good. I was using some cheap program, free program that I got from somebody. And I just was cutting, not doing anything with audio, no visual effects. And now I have, did you ever hear of Adobe Premiere?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Adobe Premiere, I use that, Adobe Audition, Adobe After Effects, and those things have just a lot of great tools to help you tell that story that you're trying to tell. And I don't know everything about these programs, but I use them and I seek out on YouTube like how to do certain things, or like I said, look at other people's work and say, oh, I could do that. Let me try that. Like always be a student. Oh, like never stop learning, because I'm telling you, some of these jobs I run into, just like working for a company for video editing, it's like sometimes you could tell they don't know what an editor is, because they'll say, hey, yeah, we want a HR rep or something, but just so happened to edit video. Like,
Mhm.
like I don't know. I went for a job and they wanted me to be like, they liked that I was an editor, like a video editor. So it's like, oh, we love your work, blah blah blah. Then they sent me to the marketing department for an interview, and that was all about numbers. Well, how much money did your video generate, that you gave to a client and all that? And I'm like, wow, so I got to be this marketing guru too.
Yeah.
It's like, it's really crazy. That pisses me off. But just never stop being a student. I'm not saying you have, I guess marketing is something that, you definitely should learn, being a video editor, but that's not what I learned. That's not how I learned. But maybe I'll get more into the editing part. But just being a student, I learn every day, and I think it's very well worth it. And yeah, I don't know it all.
Stay humble.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
Stay
I have to
humble.
I got to remind myself of that a lot, because especially being in our 30s, then there's that expectation that like, oh, you're supposed to be an expert at that thing that you've been doing, as if there's just a day that comes where it's just like, okay, checked off the box, I'm perfect. This is all done.
Yeah.
It's great. I don't need to learn anything else. That means I'm a professional. That's what professional is. Like, no, professionals doing the work and continuing to learn and grow and make changes and go with learn trends and being able to continuously improve your craft, and keeping that open mind. Like that's being an artist to me, versus, okay, now I can do this one thing really well and I'm not open to anything else because I mastered this only thing. Like that's not growth. So I really love that answer, and I'm gonna take it for myself as I create and continue to be a student and learn more. And maybe, who knows, maybe I will go back to visual film. I don't know. I gotta get the eye for it first.
It might be worth it. It might be worth it. It's a beautiful thing when you think of something in your head and then present it to the world. That is the most, like, oh man, it's awesome. Like, anything you think of was somebody's idea, and maybe it's big, maybe it's making a lot of money, maybe it's not for certain things. But like I said, like, I want this show. And I'm looking at it from a, marketing standpoint, a business standpoint. I want it to be huge, and it's just something I thought of. And when people like it and, give me some feedback about it, and you contacted me over it, it's like, that's awesome. It's like the best feeling in the world.
Well, keep going, make those dreams even bigger. And before we wrap up, do you have any shout outs? Anyone who's listening?
Oh, everyone be listening. Let's see. Just shout out everybody that basically support me. I got a lot of supporters. Some people that are, friends, family. Some people are total strangers. Big shout out to my wife, because she motivates me every freaking day. She tells me when I'm slacking and to pick up the pace on stuff. So I was like, hey, I love it. My brothers, my mom, just everybody that is definitely in my corner, my best friends. Like, yeah, need that, Oh, and Capri and Lavinia, they're like my peoples that definitely, hold me down in this. And it's awesome. I got some awesome people around.
As far as promo goes, where can we find your work? Where can we find you? What what contact info do you want to provide us with? And also, please plug Sneakerhead Stories and anything else you have coming up.
Yeah, so you can definitely reach me on my my social medias across Twitter, Instagram, and even YouTube is Julian Photo Fit. Those are the three things that, I don't know, make up me. My name is Julian. I take photos and I like to work out. So Julian Photo Fit on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. That's where I have Sneakerhead Stories. And Sneakerhead Stories is a interview-based show where I converse with sneaker enthusiasts of all colors, of all shapes, sizes, male, female, because there's a lot of them out here, and I definitely want to help them tell their story of why they stand out, online for a pair of sneakers to get to that retail price, So it's definitely on the channel also. So definitely check that out. I put a lot into it, and these people I interview, they're awesome, so.
Saying you tried to say you weren't good at marketing. So I've got Julian Photo Fit locked in now because you explained it so concisely. So great job. I think you should go for the HR job.
Yeah, we'll see.
Thank you for listening to Standing While Black, a weekly podcast discussing Black experiences in fandom. Follow this podcast on all of your favorite streaming apps and visit standingwhileblack.com for show notes and to apply to be a guest on the show. This podcast is written, produced, and hosted by me, Ashley Briggs. Show your support and get early access to new episodes by joining the Standing While Black famdom on Patreon. Let's geek out together.